Welcome to episode 7 of my 30,000 mile road trip from Paris to Cape Town. And on today's episode, we are hitting the Middle East. Yep, we are going to Syria. So we finally left Turkey after several attempts and 24 days. So we're on, I think, 6 weeks now we've been traveling. So in today's episode, we're going to be going over Syria and what happened in Damascus and how we got to Jordan. But before we go there, let's go on to my podcast journey with you. So some good news, up to 20 countries, different listeners from 20 countries, which is amazeballs. Like I said, one of my goals is to get listeners from 76 countries, which is the amount of countries I've been to. So we're well on our way. Since excluding my trailers, this is only the third week, I think, I've done my podcast. So yeah, super happy. And then the top 5 countries remain the same. So number 1, Canada. Woohoo, Canucks. Number 2, USA. How you doing down there? Some crazy times going down there with hurricanes and I won't even get into Trump. And the country number 3 is my second home, UK. Well done, Brits. Although you're letting the Americans beat you, so come on. And number 4 is Ireland. Top of the morning to me, fellow Irish lovelies. And coming up, number 5 is French. So bonjour et merci beaucoup. And the review of the day is my first review, actually. Short but sweet. It was 5 stars. It said, great stuff. Really looking forward to this series to start. So thank you, Nina. You're awesome. And if you'd like to a shout out, then please just leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or like iTunes, or go to my website for instructions how to do it. And you can also do it on Stitcher for Android. Everything's on the website, manyroadstravel.com. Okay, and one more piece of news. I gave my very first interview on another podcast, which is really exciting. And that will be coming out end of September, early October. So I will let you know when that was out. It was really fun. I was quite nervous because it was my first interview, but it went really, really well. And it's called The Accented World. And Lena is the hostess, and she was lovely. So I will keep you posted on when that's out closer to the time. Alrighty, so let's get going. Okay, so we finally left Turkey, as I said, after 24 days. We only planned on being there maybe 10, and we came through the Turkish-Syrian border near Antakya, Turkey. And after 6 passport checks, 1 baggage check, we finally crossed the border into Syria. And we got the bus down to Damascus. So we passed nearby Aleppo. And finally, on the bus we met this really nice Jordanian guy who was living in Damascus. So Casey talked to him quite a lot. Casey was my friend who I left on this trip with. We traveled together for a few months. So once we got to Damascus, he helped us find a hotel, which was very nice of him. Like I said, Middle East, and I've been back to Middle Eastern countries several times since this trip, and the nicest people, like super generous, very hospitable, just lovely, lovely people. They really take you under their wing and treat you as like a guest, your royalty, basically. But I remember coming across the border, like into Syria, because it was I think we left Turkey around 11 in the morning. We didn't get to Damascus till 6 p.m. But the landscape just completely changes as soon as you come into Syria. And it was much more like low mountain ranges, quite like sandy and rocky, with just like pockets of fertile soil. But the sunset was beautiful. Like the hue was just like it all turned to like fiery orange. It was really beautiful. And I thought the landscape it was very rugged, but it was beautiful in its own way. But yeah, so we finally get to Damascus and get our hotel. We just had enough energy to just grab something really quick to eat, because I hadn't slept for 3 days, right? Because before we did this, so that was 7-hour trip, we'd just come off a 12-hour bus journey from Ankara to get our Syrian visa. So I was exhausted. We just crashed. Although it was a rock hard bed. But I slept for 10 hours. I was out cold. And then got up in the morning. So this is, I think, day 43. Finally had a long, hot shower, which was my first in 7 days. So that was lovely. And then I was waiting for Casey to have a shower. So I thought I'll just pop out, walk around the corner, just take a little look-see. Because, by the time I got to Damascus, it was almost dark. Well, I got lost for half an hour. See, nowadays, much easier. You put on Google Maps and you're fine. Back in 1993, the internet wasn't even around, let alone cell phones or Google Maps. But yeah, lost for half an hour. But I quite like getting lost, and I still do to this day. I don't know. For some reason, it's more fun. I always find my way home. I do have an internal tracking system, I think. Anyways, finally, Casey was ready, and we headed over to the Jordanian embassy to get our visa. Get there, and we realized we both had forgot our passports, so that was super handy. And the embassy was closed. It closed at 11 a.m. So we're like, okay, that was just stupid. But yeah, and then we just decided to walk around Damascus. And Damascus is I think it was the oldest part of Damascus, like the old town of Damascus. That was formed in 3000 BC or something like that. And it's apparently one of the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world. And it was also known as Pearl of Asia because it's beautiful and its lushness. And I really, really liked Damascus. It was a totally different vibe to the other big cities we'd been to so far. But I liked it just as much as I liked Paris or Rome, to be honest, and much better than I liked any of the other big cities we went to in Turkey. Not that we had gone to many big cities, but I really liked it. It had a great vibe. And it was the first time I'd seen, women in burqas or, covered with headscarves, and the men all wore jackets and headscarves as well. It was just full of color and smells, and, there's lots of honking and stuff like that, but that's, big cities anywhere, really. But yeah, I really, really liked the vibe of Damascus. And like I said, people are super nice, always smiling. And, we hardly had seen any other Westerners there. But mind you, we hadn't really seen any other travelers since Marmaris, Turkey. So it'd been a couple weeks, just me and Casey's. But we were still getting along really well, considering spending 24/7 together with someone. It's hard. But yeah, Casey and I got along, we're still getting along really, really well. So yeah, we went to this market, which is called the El Hamidia Souk, which is a huge marketplace. And it was really cool. Talk about attacking your senses, all your senses are full because you're just smelling things, you're seeing things. There's lots of colors, there's lots of, bartering. And yeah, I really liked it. It was really cool. We walked around there for a while, and then we kind of stumbled along the meat market. Not quite as nice. Definitely the smell is not as good, or the sights, because you see sheep's heads and cow's heads and intestines and hearts. And I don't even eat red meat. I'd stopped eating red meat when I was 19. So it was not my cup of tea, that's for sure. And then, which is weird, but then we went to grab some lunch. I don't know, all that meat. And we had, delicious. Back then in 1983, I'd never had Middle Eastern food, really. I don't even think hummus was around back then in Canada. So yeah, we got this beautiful, I do eat white, I call it my fins and feathers. So I do eat chicken and fish. Anything with fins and anything with feathers out of the sea, I love. So yeah, we had these chicken donaires and salads, and So delicious. Then we found these awesome Syrian sweets. So it's kind of like a honey straw, like looks like honey straws on the outside. And then, so they're kind of crunchy. And then the inside is like, oh, delicious custard with pistachios. Bella. It's so good. And the best bit was like 30 cents for a whole box of them. And I think our chicken donaires or kebabs, whatever, were like $1. So it was like, okay, we're liking this. Is nice and cheap. So we were still a bit tired. So we went back, had a nap, and then hit the town again. And of course, we found one of the very few bars. And went in and had a Syrian beer, which was really good. It reminded me of Beck's. And of course, I was the only woman in there, but not a problem. Yeah, then we just kind of, we had such a great day. I really, really, really liked Damascus. And yeah, so we just crashed that night. Just a quick sponsor break. So if you're looking for a website, build a mobile app, webinars, email autoresponders, basically you name it, this all-in-one marketing platform has got it. I've been using it myself for almost 4 years and it rocks. And I've managed to get you a sweet deal. So for just $1, which is also guaranteed, for 30 days, you can try it out for $1, basically. It's awesome. So get on over to manyroadstravel.com/website and check it out. Honestly, you're going to be blown away with the value you get. Okay, back to the show. So day 43, we headed out to the Jordanian embassy again with passports this time. Very helpful, and before 11 a.m. And we got there and they were like, okay, well, it's $38 for a Jordanian visa. And we were like, wow, that's quite expensive. And we didn't have enough money, of course, because we knew we were only going to be in Jordan like Syria a day or two. So we'd only changed so much money into Syrian pounds. So yes, we didn't have enough money to cover it. And we were saying, well, can we get the visa at the border? Although we were very, very nervous about this because we've been here before with trying to get our Syrian visa. And they're like, oh, yep. I quote, yes, you'll definitely be able to get it at the border and it'll probably be cheaper. So we're like, okay, cool. We'll chance it. So we went back, picked up our bags, grabbed a couple more chicken donaires. I love them. For the road, and headed to the bus station, only to find out that the bus wasn't leaving till 4 a.m. And it was like, what, noon now? Luckily, a guy kind of overheard us, and he was like, well, there's like service taxis, so get one of those. So you wait till the car's full, and then you'll head out kind of thing. We're like, okay, cool, we'll do that. And so we found one, and there was like 5 of us in this taxi, but the other 3 people like had so much stuff, so there's all their baggage like on the roof of the taxi as well as the boot. I mean, we just had our backpack each, but it was only $10 and we could go to Amman, Jordan that day. So we're like, cool. Unfortunately, I got the worst seat, so I'm in the front middle. It was not great. And we get to the border, and it took me and Casey just half an hour to get through. Oh yeah, and also, so the visa, $42. Highway robbery. So it's $4 more than what we would have paid at the embassy. Which I know sounds like nothing, but when you're budgeting and on a very long road trip, every dollar counts. Anyways, but we got our visa. That was the main thing. We got the visa. But the other 3 people, they had so much stuff. We were 3 hours at customs. So by the time we finally got back on the road, it was dark, and the driver, who was this fat, sleazy, gross dude, one of the few people I met that I didn't like, and throughout the whole trip, he just kept trying to rub himself against my leg and his arms on my lap, and it was just, needless to say, a very gross, very weary day. But the good news is we got to Jordan. And we decided to splash out and got like a $50 a night hotel. And yeah, we're in Jordan. It's happy days. However, you're going to have to wait till the next episode to hear about Jordan. I'd just like to talk a little bit more about Syria and how heartbreaking it is, what's been happening there for the last 9 years. the war and everything like that. It started, like 2011. And it started kind of because a couple of teenagers had spray painting something about pro-democracy. And Assad, the president, security people arrested them and tortured them. And it kind of kicked off from there. So it's called like the Arab, well, it was one of the Arab Spring kind of revolutions. Yeah, and it just kind of, then by 2012, like it just mass protesting, and Assad, the president, who is not a very good person at all, more, another dictator, Then he brought in, the big thing in 2013 was the sarin gassing, when he gassed his own people, like poisoned them, even though he denied it. And it just, snowballed. I mean, by, I think, 2016, something like 4.5 million Syrians had been displaced, like, either gone, not just displaced, sorry, that was more, but had left Syria, basically. So, you hear about the Syrian refugees. I mean, they have just gone through hell and back. And, and Turkey, Jordan, Lebanon, I mean, they just so many refugees, they couldn't handle it. So there's Syrian refugees went to Europe, and some came across to Canada and the States, but hard times. And I know by, like, I'm not sure how many Syrians have been killed, but by, I think, 2015 250,000 Syrians have been killed by their own government. Like, brutal. They've tried to get peace a few times, just not working. So it's still, there's, parts of Syria, it's still really, you can't go to. It's very unsafe. However, I just had a look yesterday about the situation now. And yeah, Damascus and Aleppo are open, and, you can visit them. A few things you need to know. And now apparently also Damascus has, and Aleppo, like they have streets that are bars and restaurants, and they say like it's like any other European city, which is cool. Like I said, I love Damascus. I wish I would have seen more of Syria, especially I can't remember the name of it, but there's this old, I think it's it starts with a P. Jesus, I can't remember right now. But the ISIS destroyed it, and it's a really old, ancient city. So I wish we would have gone to see it when we had a chance. But yeah, so if you do want to go to Syria now, you need to go on a tour. Since 2018, you have to book a tour. And you also have to, through a travel agency, you have to kind of get, it's called like security permission. And then that you kind of go into the Syrian immigration database, because you don't get your visa until you arrive. But so if you did want to go, like I said, I loved it. Obviously things have changed, but yes, you just go to a travel agency, and it depends, like, to get this security permission. It's something like, so for Europeans it's $300, for UK it's $500, and for Americans it's $550. And then visas are between $20 and $150 depending on where you're from. For Canadians it's $90. So I got mine free back then. So yeah, and then like I said, you have to book a tour. So you're met at the airport, or there are 3 land borders that are open now. I mean, again, with COVID, I'm not exactly sure, so just double check. And obviously all your government's travel advisory, government pages on website pages, all probably do not recommend going to Syria. But I have looked online, and there's people that have gone, 2019, 2020, so it's definitely possible. Yes, you have to be with your tour guide at all times. And like I said, I would literally just go to Damascus and maybe Aleppo. That'd be it, really, because there are still kidnappings and stuff like that. And you also cannot have an Israeli stamp in your passport. It was the same back then when I was there. That's one of the reasons we didn't end up going to Israel, because we were going to Sudan, and we knew that we couldn't have that in our passport. Also, no ATMs take foreign cards. That's because of all the restrictions by American governments and British, Western governments, basically. So you have to bring hard cash, cold hard cash. Oh yeah, and the Syrian pound has completely collapsed from April, again because of the embargoes on them. So now it would be a good time to go for us. Not great for Syrians at all. But the Syrian pound is like 2,400 to $1 US. When I was there, it was 42. So yeah, crazy. So I think that's about it for Syria right now. But yeah, like I said, it's really heartbreaking. I feel for those poor people, and like I said, there I don't know how many now, probably close to 8 million at least Syrians have been displaced, and it's just brutal. And all for what? Like, for what? And of course now, like, you have American government, and other governments trying to steal their oil or take, whatever, but it's stealing their oil basically. Not great, not a great situation. So if you couldn't go, if you do want to go, then go, because the economy would, any bit of money that they can get from tourism would be great for the country. So I leave it at your own discretion. Okay, and now I think it is time for Tam's top tips. So I would say tip number one, besides like all the information I just gave you, Damascus, possibly Aleppo to go to. And I guess there's like Damascus hasn't been hit too hard, like bombed too much. So it's still like I said, I loved it. It was really vibrant, friendly, and colorful. And like I said, it's changed now. So there's one street called El Hamar Street, and that is literally just like a road of like bars and restaurants and cafes and things like that, and shops. So that would be, I guess, tip number one. Tip number two, in Damascus, I would go to Umayyad Mosque, which is a really ancient mosque and burial site. Tip number three would be, go to that marketplace. It's called Hel Hamida Souk. It's amazing. It's huge. It was, like we said, one of my first big, especially Middle Eastern marketplaces. Really fun. Lots of great things to buy and try and eat and drink and all sorts. And then for my solo female travelers, dress appropriately. Definitely, I would say wear a headscarf and, cover your arms and legs, and you should be fine. You're going to be in a tour, but still be vigilant, and just respect their culture, and you should be fine. Like I said, I had a great time, and I know things have changed, but still some things don't ever change, and that's people's hospitality and generosity, and except for places that have been bombed, obviously, but the what's to see there that I saw is still there. Like I said, I would leave it at your own discretion, and once things calm down, especially with COVID, then I would definitely put it on my list for sure to go. Okay, so I think that is a wrap. And we are really, really getting closer to Africa. So next week's episode is going to be about Jordan, and then it's Africa. Woohoo! Okay, I would love it if you could subscribe and, like I said, leave a review or a rating. That would be awesome. Okay, so until next Thursday, safe travels, one road at a time.